Introduction. In early November 2024, TSMC, the world's most advanced chip manufacturer, has announced it will no longer supply sub-7 nanometer chips to Chinese companies. This isn't just about business. It's a major escalation in the US-China chip war, as Washington pushes to choke off Beijing's access to cutting-edge technology. Semiconductors, those tiny chips powering AI, advanced weapons, and your everyday gadgets, are now at the center of a global power struggle. The US is doubling down on export controls, while China is racing to build its own capabilities. So, what's driving this decision by TSMC? How does it fit into the broader US strategy to contain China? And what are the global implications of this tech showdown? Before we dive deep, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay on top of the biggest stories shaping the future. 1. Key US and allied measures against China's chip industry. Let's imagine semiconductors like the fuel that powers the engines of modern technology. Without them, advanced systems like AI, defense tech, or even your smartphone just can't run. What's happening now in the semiconductor world is kind of like the US and its allies forming a tight-knit group to control who gets access to this fuel, especially when it comes to China. Here's what's been going on. The US turns off the tap. October 2022, the US announced export controls to restrict sales of advanced chip-making equipment to China. This includes machinery and software needed to produce semiconductors smaller than 14 nanometers, which are essential for powering supercomputers and AI systems. August 2023, the US tightened these controls even further, expanding restrictions to include certain chips used in advanced AI applications. These actions aim to block China from accessing the tools it needs to compete in next-generation technology. Allies step in: Japan and the Netherlands. March 2023, Japan implemented strict export controls on its advanced semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Companies like Nikon and Tokyo Electron, which produce critical tools for making high-performance chips, were prohibited from exporting these to China. July 2023, the Netherlands followed suit, restricting ASML from selling its cutting-edge extreme ultraviolet (EUV) lithography machines to Chinese companies. These machines are the cornerstone of producing chips smaller than 7 nanometers, a technology that China desperately needs to compete globally. Samsung joins the action. November 2024, Samsung, one of the largest chip makers globally, joined TSMC in halting the supply of sub-7 nm chips to Chinese companies. These chips are critical for powering advanced AI and defense technologies. This move aligns with growing pressure from the US and underscores a united front among major players in the semiconductor industry. Why does this look like a team effort? All these moves, whether it's the US, Japan, the Netherlands, or now Samsung, aren't happening randomly. It's like a coordinated strategy, almost like a sports team working together to block their opponent from scoring. The goal? To slow down China's technological progress and keep it from becoming self-sufficient in semiconductor production. Each country and company plays its part, but the overall game plan is clear. Limit China's access to the tools and tech needed to produce cutting-edge chips. What's the big picture here? This isn't just about business. It's about power and security. Semiconductors are like the crown jewels of modern technology, and whoever controls them holds a big chunk of global influence. By restricting China's access, the US and its allies are trying to maintain their edge, both technologically and geopolitically. In simple terms, it's like saying, we'll let you have some tech, but not the really good stuff. And that's shaping up to be one of the most critical battles in the world of technology today. 2. The role of TSMC in the chip war. If the semiconductor industry is like a global chessboard, TSMC is one of the most powerful pieces on it. Based in Taiwan, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, produces some of the world's most advanced chips. These are the brains behind cutting-edge technologies, from AI supercomputers to military hardware. But recently, TSMC has made moves that are shaking up the game, and China is feeling the heat. TSMC's sub-7 nm chip ban. In November 2024, TSMC officially stopped supplying sub-7 nm chips to Chinese companies. These chips are like the Ferraris of the tech world, high performance, high value, and not something you can easily replace. They're crucial for building AI systems, autonomous vehicles, and advanced military tools. For China, losing access to these chips is a major setback. Why does this matter? Chips at the sub-7 nm level are not just smaller, they're smarter and more efficient. They consume less power, process more data, and are essential for cutting-edge innovation. By halting the supply of these chips, TSMC has effectively put a speed bump on China's path to becoming a global tech superpower. Pressure from the US. TSMC didn't make this decision in a vacuum. It's part of a broader US-led effort to control China's access to advanced technologies. Over the past 2 years, the US has introduced export controls and rallied its allies, creating an environment where companies like TSMC are under immense pressure to align with Western interests. Geopolitical stakes. Here's where it gets even more complex. Taiwan, where TSMC is based, is already a flashpoint in US-China tensions. Taiwan's chip industry is like a fortress, holding the keys to technologies that both sides desperately want. TSMC's decision to limit China's access to these chips is not just about business. It's a strategic move in a much larger geopolitical context. China's response. For China, this ban is a wake-up call. Losing access to TSMC's most advanced chips highlights just how dependent they are on foreign technology. It spurred China to pour billions into its domestic chip industry, but catching up to TSMC will take years, if it's even possible. Why TSMC's role is unique. Unlike other companies, TSMC holds a near monopoly on the production of the most advanced chips. Think of it as the exclusive craftsman of a product everyone needs, but very few can make. Its decisions ripple across the entire tech world, influencing everything from AI innovation to national security strategies. What does this mean for the chip war? TSMC's move has created a significant bottleneck for China, slowing down its technological advancements in critical areas. It also underscores how Taiwan's chip industry has become a powerful tool in the hands of the US and its allies. By controlling access to TSMC's advanced chips, they're shaping the rules of the global tech game. In simpler terms, it's like being the only bakery in town that makes wedding cakes and deciding not to sell to one of the biggest wedding planners around. It's a bold move, and it's changing the balance of power in the chip war. 3. Impact on China. Let's picture China's tech ambitions as a car speeding down the highway, aiming to overtake everyone else. Now imagine someone placing roadblocks and lowering the speed limit. That's what these semiconductor restrictions are doing to China. Losing access to advanced chips, especially from TSMC and Samsung, is causing serious challenges for China's tech ecosystem. But like any determined driver, they're not stopping. They're just trying to find another route. Short-term challenges. The roadblocks. 1. Tech bottlenecks. Advanced chips, like sub-7 nm processors, are essential for powering artificial intelligence, cutting-edge smartphones, and military hardware. Without them, it's like trying to run a Formula One car on regular gas. It just won't perform at the top level. For example, Chinese AI companies like Baidu and Tencent rely heavily on these chips for their servers and AI training models. Losing access means slower progress and potentially losing their competitive edge. 2. Economic hit. China's tech giants, including Huawei and Alibaba, are major players in global markets. Without advanced chips, their products may lag behind competitors, affecting both sales and reputation. Huawei, for instance, has already struggled to launch flagship smartphones without cutting-edge chips, relying instead on older technology, which impacts customer interest and innovation. 3. R&D delays. China's plans for AI supercomputing and military technology are directly tied to these advanced semiconductors. Without access, these projects slow down, putting their global aspirations on hold. Long-term strategies. Building a new road. 1. Investing in domestic innovation. China is pouring billions into developing its own semiconductor industry. Companies like SMIC, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, are working to create homegrown chips, but they're still years behind TSMC or Samsung. For example, SMIC announced plans to produce 7 nanometers chips domestically, but experts say they lack the machinery and expertise to do so at scale. 2. Forging new partnerships. China is looking to partner with non-Western countries to access alternative technologies. For instance, they've increased collaborations with Russia and countries in the Middle East, hoping to bypass US-led restrictions. 3. Government support. Beijing is offering massive subsidies and incentives to local companies to speed up innovation. Programs like the Made in China 2025 initiative are being revamped to focus on self-reliance in critical tech sectors, including semiconductors. What's at stake for China? These roadblocks aren't just slowing down China's tech car. They're also forcing them to rethink their entire route. Catching up in the semiconductor race isn't just about money. It requires years of expertise, access to specialized tools, and global collaboration, most of which are now out of reach. The big picture. For China, this isn't just an inconvenience. It's a strategic threat. Semiconductors power AI, military defense, and communication systems, making them essential for national security and global influence. The question now is whether China can build its own highway fast enough to stay in the race. Right now, they're stuck in the slow lane, but they're determined to accelerate. In everyday terms, it's like being locked out of the best hardware store in town. Sure, you can try building your own tools, but it'll take time, and in the meantime, the competition isn't waiting. That's where China stands today, blocked, but not defeated. 4. Conclusion. The strategic stakes of the chip war. Imagine you're watching a high-stakes chess game where every move reshapes the board. That's what's happening in the global chip war between the US and China. It's not just about who gets the best pieces. It's about who controls the game itself. The restrictions on advanced semiconductors are one of the boldest moves yet, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The US and allies, protecting the lead. The US and its allies are playing a strategic game to keep their lead in technology. By blocking access to advanced chips, they're trying to slow China's progress in areas like AI, quantum computing, and military defense. Think about TSMC and Samsung stopping sales of sub-7 nm chips. It's not just about cutting off supply. It's about maintaining control of the industry's most valuable resource. These companies aren't just players. They're the gatekeepers of the chessboard. China, fighting to stay in the game. For China, this isn't just a challenge. It's a battle for its future. They know that without access to cutting-edge semiconductors, their ambitions to lead in AI and tech innovation are in jeopardy. But China isn't walking away. They're pouring money into domestic R&D, partnering with new allies, and trying to build their own chess pieces. It's like trying to carve out a knight from wood when everyone else has steel. It's possible, but it takes time. The global ripple effect. This isn't just a US-China showdown. It's impacting everyone. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and the Netherlands are being pulled into the strategy, aligning their policies with US goals. Meanwhile, global tech companies like Nvidia and Intel are navigating a delicate balance, complying with restrictions while trying to keep access to China's massive market. For the rest of the world, the chip war means higher prices, disrupted supply chains, and a growing divide in the tech ecosystem. What happens next? The chip war is far from over. China is determined to close the gap, but the US and its allies are tightening the rules. What's clear is that semiconductors aren't just about tech. They're about power, security, and influence in a world that's increasingly driven by data and innovation. In simple terms, it's like a race where one team is pulling ahead but keeps throwing hurdles in front of their competitor. The question is whether the trailing team can find a way around those hurdles before the finish line gets too far out of reach. Right now, the US and its allies are setting the pace, but the race isn't over yet.